Going back to my argument that a lot of the claims made by various actors and people involved with the production of Star Trek about how anti-Trump and anti-right-wing this show is just a lot of political posturing and totally meaningless. Take here as evidence the fact that in this episode of Picard, they gave us the ultimate NPC meme. I mean, seriously, people, overlook your biases and just realize that you can mine this image right here for so much meme potential. Well, hello, Internet. It's your old pal, King Waspinator here, with another Star Trek Picard review, this one for Episode 2. Just watched that a little bit ago and been collecting my thoughts. There's a couple things that I'd say stand out about this episode in terms of world building and lore that can be talked about. I'm sure most of the talking heads on YouTube who, are already against Picard anyway, are going to say that this episode is just a bunch of filler and stuff, and to a degree that is true, but that also means that it's heavy in plot development and some character development. It's a good indication that this series of Star Trek is even more in the more modern line of storytelling where, the entire season is just one big story and episodes are just individual chapters of that, as opposed to each individual episode having its own little thematic drama going on. If there is, to any degree, that could be described to this episode, it's that in this episode, Picard realizes that Starfleet's not really going to be able to help him with what he wants, and also the audience learning that Starfleet has been infiltrated. And so, yeah, there's, I guess, a couple things to unpack in this episode that, feel free to comment below what your own thoughts are and what you think they're doing or where they might be going with this. Right off the bat, the show opens up with some scenes from the disaster on Mars at the Utopia Planitia shipyards. A different point of view than what was in that short Trek episode with the two kids. And we get to see finally the synthetics that Bruce Maddox had made. And oh my god, it's like the NPC meme has been brought to life in these things. They're fantastic looking, kind of goofy. I think there's a lot of potential there for screenshots to be turned into all sorts of fun responses on the Twitters. So have fun, guys, with that. And what struck me, though, about it is that apparently it seems that Bruce Maddox has indeed done exactly what Guinan was kind of warning about in the episode Measure of a Man. Obviously, that episode of TNG had been heavily mined for the concepts that are being woven into this Picard series. And that's fine. There's way worse episodes they could have gone with to have based this show around than that one. In fact, that might be one of the best ones they could have pulled from in many ways. So kudos on that, whoever decided to reference that one so highly. But in terms of Guinan's saying of just creating a race of disposable people, faceless automatons, well, that's kind of seems to be what the synthetics kind of were. And be curious to see exactly what the reasoning was for Bruce Maddox supposedly using them to create a false flag disaster sort of thing in the midst of the Romulan evacuation. Who knows? I'm sure we'll find out. Also, though, I think probably the more interesting thing, the more important thing in this episode is that we've learned that there's yet another Romulan secret society buried within the Tal Shiar called the Shad Vash. Not sure exactly how they're pronouncing that, or spelling that for that matter. Which basically seems to be like an old Illuminati cabal of Romulan intelligence types who are really against robots, artificial intelligence, androids, all that sort of stuff. And so they're the ones behind the assassination of Daj. And oddly, Picard's Romulan housekeeper seems to know an awful lot about him. I'm sure that's not going to come back up later in the season in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, though, we learned through the course of that emo Romulan Narek, who's with the twin of Daj on the Romulan cube, he's a member of the Shad Vash, and his sister is infiltrated in Starfleet and disguised as a human with her ears bobbed. And apparently she also is in collaboration with the Vulcan head of Starfleet Security, assuming she's the head of Starfleet, at least high up in Starfleet Security. She's a Commodore. And I recognize that actress. There's another actor, too, I really heavily recognize, and I can't remember if he had actually been in Star Trek, but at one point, Picard meets with his personal doctor, who apparently was the medical officer on the Stargazer. And I really don't remember if that was ever in any of the shows, but yet the actor seems really familiar. So I don't know. I'm sure other people who've watching this who have actually watched that episode of Picard, and if you have a more specific pull on as to why I recognize that guy, feel free to drop it in the comments. And anyway, so yeah, a new double secret Tal Shiar.
Oh my god, hey, sorry to interrupt here, talking about the double secret Tal Shiar and all that, but just had some fantastic news. The good folks over at Paramount are apparently developing 2 brand new Transformers live-action movies, for one of which is Beast Wars, and you know what that means. Yes, the time has finally come. The hour of Waspinator is now soon upon us, and where I can finally say, screw it, fuck all you people, to hell with YouTube, I quit, I'm going to Hollywood, baby, oh yes, Hollywood, here I come.